Iron Spider. Most web shooters sit on a wrist and wait. The Iron Spiders don't exist until they're needed. Built from stark nanotechnology, these shooters form directly on Peter's wrists in real time. Billions of nanites assembling functional launchers from liquid metal in seconds. Between uses, they return to the suit's nanotech reserves. The physical device is never present until the moment Peter fires. Once active, they connect to the suit's AI, which analyzes threats and optimizes targeting mid-combat. Different web types deploy depending on the situation. Impact webs, restraint webs, precision shots, all selected faster than conscious human decision-making allows. They also operate alongside 4 mechanical spider legs extending from the suit's back, turning every web shot into part of a coordinated multi-limb attack. In Infinity War, Peter deploys all systems simultaneously against Thanos' army on Titan. Legs, webs, and AI threat analysis running in parallel. Web shooters that build themselves from nothing, think faster than their user, and disappear when the fight ends. But that's still conventional engineering. The next version ignored engineering entirely. Japanese spider bracelet. Japan didn't upgrade the web shooter. Japan replaced it with something from another planet. The spider bracelet, received by Takuya Yamashiro from Alien Warrior Garia, handles everything from a single wrist device. Suit transformation, multiple web attack types, defensive systems, offensive capabilities, no cartridges, no mechanical components, no ceiling tied to Earth-based technology. And then it does something no web shooter has ever done before or since. It summons Leopardon, a giant battle robot, deployed directly into combat whenever ground-level fighting isn't sufficient. One wrist device. Alien origin. Giant robot on demand. That's official Marvel canon. And somehow it still wasn't the strangest direction Marvel took the concept. Spider-Man India. Pavitar Prabhakar's web shooters exist in the Marvel universe of Earth 5010-101. They didn't come from a laboratory. They weren't engineered from alien technology. An ancient yogi granted Pavitar his abilities through mystical blessing, meaning the web slinging itself operates closer to sorcery than chemistry. Web shooters powered by ancient mysticism. Marvel published that without hesitation. Superior Spider-Man. When Otto Octavius took control of Peter's body, he inherited the web shooters and immediately concluded they were unfinished. His redesigned version fires acid webs that dissolve obstacles on contact, flame webs for direct offensive combat, and conductive webs that channel electricity through anything they connect to. Pressure calibration improved for surgical accuracy at distances Peter never attempted. Web fluid formulas strengthened significantly beyond the original chemistry. Then Otto added something Peter never considered. Autonomous spider bots launched directly from the wrist mid-fight. Tiny surveillance drones deploying from the same device used to fire webs, feeding real-time data into a citywide monitoring network, watching all of New York simultaneously. The web shooters became intelligence-gathering tools that happened to also immobilize enemies. Otto transformed Peter's invention into something far more aggressive, proving just how much further the original design could be pushed. And the next version pushed it in a completely different direction. Spider-Rex. In the Marvel Multiverse, Spider-Rex is a Tyrannosaurus Rex with full spider powers. He uses web shooters, the standard wrist-mounted variety, despite having arms that physically cannot reach the firing mechanism. The web shooters fire anyway. No explanation was provided or considered necessary. Marvel created this and moved on immediately. Spider-Man 2099. Miguel O'Hara's web shooters aren't devices at all. They're part of his body. Living in the year 2099, with spider DNA rewritten into his genetic code, Miguel naturally produces organic webbing from spinnerets built directly into his forearms. No cartridges, no fluid reservoirs, no mechanical failure points. The web generates from living tissue on demand. His futuristic suit adds a gliding cape and AI assistant Lila for tactical support. But neither feature touches the web system. The spinnerets operate completely independently, making Miguel's web capability failure-proof in ways no mechanical shooter has ever achieved. No wrist gadget, no reloads. Just biology that produces silk on command. The web shooter evolved into an organ. Then Marvel made it even weirder. Spider-Punk. Hobie Brown's web shooters belong to the Marvel Universe's most anti-establishment Spider-Man. Built entirely from scrap metal, spare parts, and salvaged components, these shooters look structurally questionable by design. Rough, unfinished, and held together with DIY philosophy rather than engineering precision. They fire anyway. That's entirely the point. Stark suit. Tony Stark didn't upgrade Peter's web shooters. He rebuilt the concept from the ground up. The Stark suit's web system connects directly to onboard AI, transforming a single-function mechanical device into a computerized tactical platform with hundreds of operational modes. Karen even mentions 576 possible web combinations. Taser webs that shock on contact, web grenades that burst into massive restraint nets, ricochet webs that bounce between multiple targets, splitter webs that divide mid-flight, and spider tracers for city-wide tracking. The system monitors cartridge levels continuously and flags depletion before it becomes critical. During the ferry rescue in Homecoming, the web shooters fire continuously, while the suit simultaneously tracks structural failure points across a splitting hull. Both systems running in parallel. 576 combinations. AI-managed targeting. Real-time cartridge monitoring. This wasn't a web shooter anymore. It was a tactical weapons platform that also fired webs. And somehow Stark still wasn't satisfied with that. Insomniac's Spider-Man. In Insomniac's PlayStation games, the web shooters aren't a single tool. They're a modular weapons platform that changes completely based on whatever the fight requires. Web bombs deploy expanding clusters that trap entire groups on detonation. Trip mines create invisible tripwires that fire automatically on contact. Impact webs launch targets into walls at high speed. Suspension Matrix lifts multiple enemies off the ground simultaneously. Web Blossom fires in every direction at once. Instant area coverage from a single activation. Same wrist-mounted launcher. Completely different function depending on the loaded configuration. Miles Morales combined bioelectric venom powers with traditional web combat, creating attack combinations unique to his fighting style that hit differently from anything Peter's chemistry produced. Spider-Man 2 pushed into symbiote territory. When Peter's shooters malfunctioned during the symbiote arc, the dark webbing disappeared completely, proving the symbiote enhanced the output, but the mechanical device remained the actual source. One launcher. Every sequel added more configurations. The system never stopped expanding. Spider-Bite Tangots. Spider-Bite operates inside cyberspace on Earth TRN-461. Her web shooters don't fire polymer or organic silk. They generate digital web constructs built entirely from code. No fluid, no cartridges, no physical components of any kind. The web is software. The shooter is software. The entire system exists only as data. It functions exactly like a physical web shooter. Inside a digital universe, that's apparently sufficient. Spider-Man 2211. Spider-Man 2211 comes from a future where restraint clearly wasn't a design consideration. Max Born's web system pairs advanced future tech shooters with 4 additional robotic arms. Every web shot backed by mechanical limbs that extend reach, redirect attacks, and cover angles no standard wrist-mounted device can reach. The web system and robotic arms operate as one integrated platform rather than separate tools. More simultaneous attack vectors, more coverage, more everything. The future decided one shooter was never going to be enough. Penny Parker. Penny Parker's web shooters aren't wrist-mounted. They're not even human-scaled. The Spider-Mech, a giant spider-shaped robot operated by Penny Parker, and a radioactive spider sharing psychic connection, handles web deployment through massive mechanical systems built into the robot's frame. The web launchers fire at mech scale with mech-level force, while a shared consciousness between human pilot and spider co-pilot handles targeting in real time. The web shooter is an entire giant robot running on shared biological and mechanical consciousness simultaneously. Only Marvel could make that concept work. Spider Carnage. Spider Carnage is the fusion of Peter Parker and the Carnage symbiote. The web shooters are completely absent. The Carnage symbiote generates its own living tendrils directly. No mechanical device, no fluid, no cartridge required. The tendrils slash, stretch, and attack independently as living weapons. The web shooter became the monster instead. Doctor Strange web shooters. In magical crossover stories, Peter Parker's standard mechanical web shooters get enhanced by mystical forces, producing supernatural web-based effects that polymer chemistry could never achieve on its own. The same wrist-mounted device that fires synthetic silk starts interacting with supernatural threats, dimensional forces, and magical constructs entirely outside its original design parameters. Science and sorcery, sharing a delivery mechanism. In these stories, that's not a contradiction. It's a feature. Web of Shadows. Web of Shadows begins with standard mechanical web shooters, the familiar wrist-mounted devices Peter has always used. Then the symbiote takes over, and the game deliberately blurs the line between what the shooter produces and what the symbiote generates. Standard web attacks transform into giant hammers, living whips, and writhing tendrils that operate as independent weapons rather than passive restraints. Same firing motion, completely different output. The mechanical and the biological become indistinguishable mid-combat. Spider's Shadow. In Spider's Shadow, Peter Parker keeps the Venom symbiote permanently, and the mechanical web shooters become almost unnecessary. The symbiote generates stronger organic attacks directly from the suit, replacing engineered web fluid with living alien biology. The precision engineering Peter spent years developing becomes secondary to raw symbiote output within days of bonding. The device still functions. It stops being the point. Kane Parker. Kane Parker uses web shooters as positioning tools, not primary weapons. The real capabilities are the Mark of Cain, a devastating palm strike that leaves horrific scarring, and poisonous stingers that make close contact genuinely dangerous. Every web shot exists to set up what comes immediately after it lands. For Peter, the web shooter ends the fight. For Cain, it creates the opening for the damage that actually matters. Chasm. When Ben Reilly became Chasm, his web attacks transformed into unstable abyss energy, distorted blasts that resemble webbing visually, but operate on completely different principles at a fundamental level. Same wrist position, same firing motion, entirely unrecognizable output. The web shooter still fires. What comes out of it no longer resembles anything Peter Parker ever designed. Punisher Spider-Man. In alternate universe stories where Spider-Man adopts the Punisher's methods, the web shooters shift from restraint tools into tactical weapons, every shot placed with military precision, every web used for positioning rather than capture. Same mechanical device, no mercy in the application. The friendly neighborhood web shooter became a combat instrument overnight. Same wrist, completely different philosophy. Arachnite. Arachnite is the fusion of Spider-Man and Moon Knight, first appearing in Marvel's Infinity War's Warp World storyline before later appearing in What If? Comics. The web shooters combine Spider-Man's signature mechanical web delivery system with Moon Knight's mystical lunar aesthetic, creating a unique design that reflects the abilities and themes of both heroes. Two heroes, one set of web shooters. Something Marvel had absolutely no reason to create. They created it anyway.